All right, so get this. Imagine prepping for the bar exam, but like instead of slogging through mountains of legal textbooks, you're absorbing information at a rate of 68,000 words per minute.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the bold claim behind photo reading. A technique designed to like supercharge your learning and specifically your bar prep.
Right.
Now, I know what you're thinking sounds a little too good to be true,
It's
right?
like some kind of study hack you'd see in a late night infomercial.
Exactly. And trust me, when you sent in this excerpt from photo reading for the bar exam, I had my share of skepticism too. But you're about to face one of the most demanding exams out there, and who wouldn't be curious about a potential edge?
For sure.
So let's dive into this together and see if photo reading lives up to the hype.
Okay, sounds good. What I find so interesting about photo reading is that it's not about trying to turn you into some kind of memory savant overnight.
All right.
It's actually tapping into the incredible processing power your brain already possesses, even if you don't realize it.
So no need to start wearing a tinfoil hat to boost my brain waves.
Not quite, although it might feel like it when we get into how this technique actually works. The key here is understanding that photo reading leverages both your conscious and non-conscious mind, two powerful forces working in tandem.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but you've piqued my curiosity now. Break it down for me. What's this non-conscious mind business, and how does it relate to acing something as intricate as the bar exam?
Okay, so think of it this way. Your conscious mind, the part you're actively aware of, is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lies this vast, powerful, non-conscious mind that's constantly processing information at an astonishing rate, much faster than you could ever consciously keep up with. And this is especially relevant for the bar exam because it's not just about rote memorization, it's about quickly absorbing, analyzing, and connecting complex legal concepts. Photo reading aims to bridge that gap, helping you leverage your innate ability to process information at lightning speed.
So it's almost like our brains are already primed for this kind of super learning, but we just need to know how to tap into it.
Precisely. Let me give you an example that's particularly relevant to the bar exam. Imagine you're photo reading a case about contract law. While your conscious mind is still trying to make sense of the words on the page, your preconscious processor is already hard at work behind the scenes. It's identifying the key players involved, the heart of the legal issue, and even starting to connect it to relevant legal precedents. You might have studied all before you've even had a chance to consciously process the finer points.
That's wild. It's like our brains are already working on the case even if we don't realize it.
Exactly. And this is where photo reading comes in. It provides you with a systematic way to harness that preconscious processing power, making your study sessions more efficient and effective.
I have to admit, it's a pretty compelling idea. But I bet some of our listeners are wondering, hold on, if this technique is so revolutionary, why isn't everyone using it? It almost sounds too good to be true, right?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. There are always those moments when we come across something that seems almost too good to be true, especially when it comes to learning techniques. And the truth is, photo reading isn't a magic bullet. It's not going to magically make you a legal eagle overnight.
So it's not like suddenly I'll be able to recite entire sections of the Uniform Commercial Code from memory.
Right? It's not about instant memorization, but it can significantly enhance your ability to absorb and process information, which is crucial for tackling the vast amounts of material covered in the bar exam. Yeah. Think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to build a house. Photo reading gives you the tools and materials you need, the lumber, the nails, the blueprints, but you still need the knowledge and skills to put it all together.
That's a great analogy. So photo reading is like having the raw materials, but it's the application of those materials, the
Yeah,
actual construction process where the bar prep course comes into play.
precisely. And speaking of the process,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be helpful to break down the 5 steps of photo reading, especially as they relate to your bar prep journey. The first step is preparation.
Okay, so no need to meditate under a pyramid or anything like that.
No pyramids required, thankfully. Preparation is more about getting into the right headspace for learning. It's about setting aside any preconceived notions you might have about reading and approaching the material with an open mind.
So kind of like clearing out the mental clutter before diving into a mountain of case law.
Exactly. Once you're in the right mindset, you move on to the preview stage. Now, this isn't your typical skimming where you just glance over the headings and subheadings. This is about engaging with the material from the outset, asking yourself specific questions based on your needs and goals for that particular study session.
It's interesting you say that because one of the things that struck me when you were talking about the non-conscious mind was how quickly it starts processing information. It's almost like by engaging with the material in a more active way, even during the preview stage, we're priming our brains to be more receptive to what we're about to read.
That's a brilliant observation and leads perfectly into the next step, photo reading itself. This is where you're essentially training your eyes to scan the page in a very specific way, taking in more information with each glance. You're not focusing on individual words or sentences, but rather absorbing the overall structure and layout of the page.
So instead of reading line by line, it's more about letting our eyes sweep across the page, almost like we're taking a mental snapshot.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that you're doing this at an incredibly fast pace.
Okay.
We're talking about getting through 150 pages in about 10 minutes. Now, I know that might sound unbelievable, but remember, you're not trying to consciously process every single word. You're allowing your non-conscious mind to work its magic behind the scenes, picking up on patterns and connections that your conscious mind might miss.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be a game changer for someone facing a mountain of bar prep materials. But even if I can get through a textbook at warp speed, how does that actually translate into remembering the information when it comes time to answer those grueling exam questions?
That's where the next two steps come in, post-viewing and activation. And they're crucial for solidifying the information you've absorbed during the photo reading phase. Post-viewing is all about giving your brain a chance to process and integrate the information. It's about letting it all sink in. This could involve taking a break, going for a walk, or even sleeping on it. The key is to allow for some downtime so that your non-conscious mind can continue to work its magic.
So it's like we're giving our brains permission to marinate in all that juicy legal knowledge. It does seem like giving our brains that time to digest is crucial, especially with like such dense material.
Absolutely. Think of it like enjoying a delicious meal. You wouldn't want to rush through it without savoring the flavors. Similarly, giving your brain that downtime allows you to fully absorb and appreciate the nuances of what you've learned.
I like that analogy. It makes perfect sense. But let's talk about the last step, activation, because this seems like where the rubber meets the road, especially for our listener who's got that bar exam looming.
Your spot-on activation is where photo reading truly comes alive and transforms from a passive reading technique into an active learning tool. Remember those blueprints we talked about earlier? Activation is like putting those blueprints into action and actually building the house.
Okay, so how does that translate to bar prep specifically?
So think of your bar prep course as the construction crew and your study materials as the building blocks. You've already laid the foundation by photo reading those dense legal texts and letting the information sink in. Now the course provides the framework and guidance to put that knowledge into practice. Those lectures you attend, those practice questions, you tackle those flashcards you create, they all serve as activation tools.
So it's almost like each activity in the bar prep course acts as a spark, igniting the information we've already absorbed through photo reading and like making those neural connections even stronger.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language. You can memorize vocabulary lists all day long, but you'll only truly become fluent by speaking, writing, and immersing yourself in that language. Similarly, photo reading provides you with the legal vocabulary, but it's the bar prep course that allows you to become fluent in the language of law.
That's a fantastic way to put it. Now, I know we briefly touched upon mind mapping earlier, and I'm curious to explore that a bit further because I'm a very visual learner myself. How do mind maps fit into this whole process, and how can our listener use them effectively for bar prep?
Mind maps are an incredibly powerful tool for visual learners because they tap into the brain's natural ability to process information spatially.
Hmm.
Imagine taking a complex legal concept, like the elements of a contract, and instead of just listing them out in a linear fashion, you create a visual map with the central concept at the core, and branches radiating outwards representing each element.
So instead of memorizing a dry definition, you're creating a visual story that's easier to remember and recall.
Exactly. And as you delve deeper into each element, you can add sub-branches connecting cases, legal precedents, and even hypothetical scenarios. This helps you create a rich tapestry of knowledge that's not only visually appealing, but also deeply ingrained in your memory.
It sounds like mind maps are particularly helpful for connecting those dots between different legal concepts, something that's crucial for acing the bar exam.
Absolutely. And here's the exciting part. The very act of creating and reviewing those mind maps serves as another form of activation. As you're drawing those connections and adding new information to your maps, you're actively engaging with the material and reinforcing those neural pathways.
So it's a win-win situation. Mind maps not only make the learning process more engaging and effective, but they also contribute to that crucial activation phase. This has been an incredibly enlightening deep dive into the world of photo reading and its potential for conquering the bar exam. We've covered a lot of ground from the science behind how our brains process information to the practical steps of incorporating photo reading into a study routine. But one question that lingers in my mind is this. If our brains are capable of such incredible feats of learning and information processing, what other hidden potentials might we be overlooking?
That's a profound question, and one that I believe we're only beginning to scratch the surface of. If we can train ourselves to learn and absorb information at a fraction of the time it currently takes us, imagine the possibilities.
It's truly mind-boggling, isn't it? Perhaps this deep dive into photo reading is just the beginning of a lifelong journey of unlocking our brain's full potential. And who knows, maybe our listener will be inspired to explore those uncharted territories long after they've aced the bar exam.
I have a feeling they will.
Well, on that note of endless possibility and brain-boosting adventures, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Remember, the journey of 1,000 legal codes begins with a single photo read. Until next time, happy studying.